I'm Dr. Abdelhak. I'm from Algeria, but I'm based in Malaysia. I work in University of Rahman as an associate professor of economics at the Faculty of Business and Finance. So I hold my PhD economics from University of Science Malaysia, USM, also in Malaysia, where I did my thesis on vulnerability to poverty in rural Malaysia, basically on farmers, where I have looked at how farmers, move in and out of poverty.
Great.
I also completed the master in economic management from same university, University of Science Malaysia, and my Bachelor of Economics is from University of Algiers.
Great. Sir.
So my research interests are basically about economics development, including energy economics, housing economics, health economics, digital economy, and also do some research about management where I investigated like things of employee creativity and innovation, organization culture, digital transformation, artificial intelligence, SME's performance. So this is in general my interest. So I have held also some leadership roles at University of Rahman, including, for example, I was head of the program for postgraduate studies, PhD and MPhil or master, 2000 for 2 years, 2017, 2018. And also I've been as an acting head, Department of Economics. And now currently I'm playing the role of head of postgraduate programs for a PhD in economics. It's a newly program introduced in my university. I have published extensively in various local and international reference journals like Web of Science, SCI, Scopus, chapter in books. I have attended also several conferences, including your conferences, mainly as a presenter and also as a keynote speaker. So I have served and I'm serving as a reviewer for several reference journals. I think quite number of journals, that I'm reviewing for. Also, I have awarded various or numerous of international and national awards for my contribution for the academic community, including, for example, 2019 Emerald Literature Award, FIIB Business Review High Impact Research Award, and also I got Top Reviewer Award, Best Paper Awards, E-Learning Excellence Award, and also I'm certified trainer. So actually, basically, I'm a certified trainer for all sorts of training workshops. And this is, I think that all indicate my commitment to teaching and mentoring, future scholars, future leaders. That is a brief introduction about myself. Actually, so as we know, during the COVID was a tough time,
Definitely.
And as a researcher, we have to, take our responsibility, So as an economist, I can say my research has always focused on understanding and addressing the social and economic issues, particularly, as I mentioned just now, those vulnerable communities or vulnerable peoples. I work a lot about poverty, and I'm still working, poverty, vulnerable to poverty, social protection. So when the COVID-19 pandemic has been, around, and it was a global crisis, with far-reaching, I can say, consequences for both individual communities and economies around the world, all. So we have actually read a report that this COVID have exacerbated the pre-existing inequalities. Those people, they were poor, they become poorer. And we can see that the gap between the poor and the rich, extended because of the COVID. I can say that those are vulnerable and those are poor actually who suffer more compared to rich people from this pandemic. So this is why, because it increased the risk of poverty and unemployment. We have the issue of food insecurity. So there comes my motivation for conducting research, during the pandemic, where I intend or I aim to do a research that actually help understand the economic consequences of the crisis and to actually identify policy interventions that can help mitigate some of the negative consequences for vulnerable communities. So to be specific, my research during the COVID-19, I did a lot, but the most one is focused on business, particularly small and medium enterprises sector, because usually, especially in Malaysia, is SMEs are I can say the backbone for the Malaysian economy. So even the society, because there are so many people depend on their small business. So we have, of course, I have my research group. I'm working with a group of scholars. So we focus on that area in SMEs and how the COVID impacted household welfare. So the business sector, I can say, is an important component for economic development and provide vital services to individuals, to household, to businesses, to communities. And when the pandemic came, it has disrupted the supply chain, and therefore we have shortage for goods and services, where it caused the price to be fluctuated, especially for the necessities, and this is actually make the situation for those vulnerable people more challenging for them. So I can say the research that we done sought to investigate how actually the business sector, which is these SMEs, mitigate against the COVID. What strategies they use in order to mitigate and in order to overcome the negative impact. At the same time, how much the COVID affected those businesses. So we try to understand the pandemic impact on business, and therefore this allows us to actually identify policy intervention that can help to ensure SMEs. For example, we did some research related to government, some research for publication. So I can say that my motivation for conducting research during pandemic was to help understand the pandemic economic impact and to identify policy intervention that can help mitigate the negative consequences, particularly for small, medium enterprises, and also for vulnerable communities. So that in general. On top of that, I also done some research on what will be the future for education, because if you remember, when the pandemic started, we all shifted to online, classes and this e-learning, where actually we were forced to accelerate that, because before the pandemic, actually, there were a talk and a lot of debate and discussion on what is the future for universities. It will be really an online. So when the pandemic came, actually, that debate or that discussion, it was forced to be accelerated and to speed up. So I did some research on that. But I can tell you, unfortunately, that the result is like, yeah, even though that it looks like feasible, but actually it will never replace the traditional, I can say, education, because when we learn, it's not only about doing a research and put it in, on the screen. So we have the ethics, we have this collaboration, interaction. We are social by nature, right? Some kind of things that my experience as a teacher, also as a lecturer, a student cannot get them unless if they are physically interacted, right? Yeah. So I can say that online learning is a good experience, but it will never replace. It can be as a help, an extra to the traditional education. So I did something on that. I tackled both opinion from the academia, lecturers, teachers, and from the students, and see how this learning affected the performance, the preferences, the understanding. Yeah. So during the COVID, I can say two areas, which were business, and the second one is in education. Yeah. Okay. As I can say, as someone who has attended both physical and virtual conferences, right? Before that, I always attend physical conferences. When the COVID came, we start attending,
Definitely.
online or virtual conferences, because that it was not. Yeah, sometimes I attended like talks or something like that, but it's not like a conference. So I feel that the virtual conferences actually has a lot of advantages.
Okay.
And especially during the COVID, or during, or we can say a pandemic, not physically must be COVID-19, but any pandemic. So, for example, we have those online conferences eliminate the need for costly and time-consuming travel. So you can see, for example, you can last time I did a conference, for example, from Turkey online. So no need for me, to take like 1 week to travel.
So
That
it's easy for you.
yeah, it will be easy, and also it is a cost saving, right?
Convenient cost saving.
Yeah, cost saving. So many people feel like they're comfortable,
Definitely.
by these two things.
Okay.
But also attending an online conference, some people found it that how to say a comfort for their own homes, because you are just relaxing at home and you are doing a conference. You can have a cup
They are
of
in their
coffee at
comfort
night.
zone.
Yeah,
They are not
exactly. So
getting
this
out
is
of the
another
comfort
advantage, for this
zone.
conference.
Definitely. They
So
don't have
yeah,
to.
but what I say, it has also some of the disadvantages, right? For example, some of the drawbacks to holding online conferences is one significant, I can say, downside is the absence of face-to-face connection, as just now I was talking about lecturing, which is same with the conference. Because if we ask ourselves, what is the purpose of attending conference? Actually, the main purpose of attending conferences is not merely that to share your up-to-date research only, but I can say 80% also, because if you want to share your research, you can do it in a publication. You can do it in a blog, right? Where people can. But why we have to pay all these fees and travel? Because we want connection.
Yes,
So the
definitely.
main is in
Connections.
networking. The main thing for a
Yes,
conference is networking. Of course, as I say, sharing your research is there. It has, but I can tell you honestly, it's not the main. The main is networking. So networking is an important part of attending conferences, and it may be difficult to make significant contact on online platform, because online platform, you are not going, to greet people. I know on the screen you can say hi, but actually you will not have a real conversation.
Definitely.
So if I answer your question, I believe that attending online conferences versus real or physical conferences during the pandemic is a personal choice and situation decision. For example, while online conferences have numerous advantages, some people they still may prefer in-person connection, as I say, and networking. That can only be provided by physical conference. So I have actually attended a lot of Asia conferences. My first conference was in 2015, if I'm mistaken, in Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, 2015, my first conferences. That time I think if you just started when you have different logo, you have different because Eurasia is developed. Actually, that time even the brand is not even Eurasia. It was GRGS, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
That was in 2015. So after that,
so things change with time. Change is the only permanent thing.
Yeah. So after that, I continue attending. I can basically every year. Sometimes I attend twice. Most of them as a keynote speaker. So my last conference that I attend, it was only last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, on the 4th and the 5th of May, and also but it was changed to online on the 3rd of May. Yes. We call it business and or international conference on business, economics, and policy, if I'm mistaken. Yes, yeah. So first of the thing, I really want to use this opportunity to offer my gratitude and appreciation, to Eurasia, for really giving me this chance and always, inviting me. That is really privilege for me, and I'm really appreciating that. So in general, all the conferences that I've attended, the conferences were really well organized, effectively managed, and I'm talking about both physical and the online, because I attended both. They have really interesting and entertaining presentation covering a wide range of business, social science, humanities issues. I even sometimes, I still remember in 2017, if I'm mistaken, or 2018, I attended a conference where there are 3 conferences, but in the same time, like 5 days. I even attended, science, sessions. So the keynote speakers also, I can say they were carefully chosen and picked, and they gave an insightful information on their respective disciplines. The panel discussion and the paper presentation were well organized and really educational. Individuals from all backgrounds presented the research finding and experiences were there. So I can see that my networking expanded because of that, because usually your conferences, at least it is attended by 10 to 15 multinationalities, I can say, from different countries, right? So the conference virtual platform, or you can say this an online conference, also was user-friendly and allowed for, I can say, a simple interaction with other attendees and presenters. And the organizer also, they were really supportive and effective for answering all our questions. So the things that I really like most in your conferences is always you will have a session, what we call a discussion session, right? Or
group activity session.
Group activity. Actually, these not so many conferences do it, but Asia they always do that, and they never, miss that. For example, the last conference 2 weeks ago, we have this group discussion or activity, why we are attached to our or to things, right? So I really, I can say, I admit that it was an exceptionally informative and thought-provoking conversation. Because why? Because the session responses provided actually a light on the psychological and emotional element that drive our connection to material, to material things. So the participant have explained this, I can say, a complex terminology of phenomenon, but they use a very simple way of explanation. So I can say those who were discussing this issue made aware, I can say, research and persuasive case that went beyond, the simple acquisition of commodities to explore the deeper emotional relationship that individual actually frequently have with object. So it was a very interesting session, and I believe that perspective offered during the discussion, not only this but also previous ones, actually always has an important impact, not only on the researcher or academics, but also for practitioners, or those people who can view this discussion online, because usually always Asia, I mean, you put all the session online, wherever it is physical on online. I always find that the videos there, so people can go and watch. So I can say the HRA international conferences are a huge success. Honestly, you have improved a lot if you compare from the beginning, and I would really suggest to those conferences to my colleagues. Actually, I did. I even suggest to my friend, and even this HRA international, organizer, it is listed in my university, how do you say, list as conferences or as a membership. I'm also a membership for it, right? So I really appreciate the change that Eurasia has made during all these years, and you have reached to a level where the quality is there, so that you have been able to attract a lot of participants from all the world.